Alrighty folks, good morning. It's about 8 a.m. where I'm at here in the Eastern time zone. Maybe it's good afternoon or good evening for you. We're going to be doing this video a little bit differently today. Normally my mug is not in the frame, in the shot, but we're going to try it out, see how it works. We got our robe on, got a few trinkets in the background for you guys to look at if you're not interested in staring at me the whole time. And we're gonna have some gameplay going on in the background as well. Now, what this video is gonna be about is kind of like where I feel we are with the extraction shooter genre. We might blend a little bit of the battle royale genre in there as well. Come on, man. No, get out of the way. Watch out. We might blend a little bit of the BR, a little bit of the extraction into the extraction, but it's mainly going to be about the extraction shooter genre. And that's because overall, where we are with shooters, first-person shooters, extraction shooters, BR right now, at least in the sort of online competitive space, it's still a little, I don't know, dry, if you will. It's getting better. We're definitely getting there. But I think we probably still have a little bit of a ways to go. So let's jump into the video and talk about that. Relax, nothing's going on. So anyway, I'm looking at my cheat sheet here, so forgive me for that. But where we're at right now, I'm going to establish sort of the 4 or 5 main games that we have in this extraction shooter genre. You know, these are more so to, you know, the point of true extraction shooters. You know, the battle royale blends in with them a little bit, but more or less, they're really just, you know, the truer extraction shooters, right? The point is not necessarily to kill other people till you're the last alive. It's to complete quests and tasks and do all this stuff, collect materials, and get out to extract. So we've got Delta Force, which has been having a great run. We've got Arena Breakout Infinite, you know, started on mobile, came over to PC. We've got Gray Zone Warfare. I mean, you know, whatever. We'll get into that later. And then, you know, whatever you feel about it, Escape From Tarkov, in my mind, in my opinion, is still kind of the reigning champion, and we're going to get into that too. Now, you say what you will about battle state games, you say what you will about the way that Tarkov is updated and managed, yada, yada, yada. I get it. I'm not a huge, like, over-the-top, die-hard Tarkov fan. I love the game. It's just such a hardcore game. It's such an intense game, you know, requiring a wiki to be up on one screen and a 3D map to be up on the other screen and just all this stuff that I just don't really play it a lot. I love the game, but the point is that Tarkov, even though there were and have been other extraction shooters, has really solidified itself and established itself as the sort of template to follow, right? It may not be the best way over time to do it, but as far as what we've got now and what these other games have done and iterated upon, Tarkov has really established that formula, that method as more or less the best way to do it. So Delta Force, great game, really love the game, have a lot of fun with the game. It's what DMZ should have been in my opinion. And they have the added benefit of being basically a Battlefield contender because they have the all-out warfare, you know, large-scale conquest mode alongside the extraction shooter mode, which is awesome. It's a super fun game. I love the game. Arena Breakout Infinite, more of a middle ground. You've got the hardcore elements of Tarkov. You know, it's a little bit more hardcore than Delta Force. It's not as arcadey with the character abilities and all this stuff, but it's nowhere near as cumbersome and difficult to deal with as Tarkov. Tarkov takes a lot of time to get used to. It just does. It takes a lot of time to get used to. Now, here's my thing, and this is what the whole video is really going to be about. Have these games really presented us with anything new? Yes, they're new games, they're fun games, they're good games. I don't have anything bad to say about the games. Gray Zone Warfare is a little bit different. I think Gray Zone Warfare released way too early. I still don't think the game is up there. One day it probably will be. I don't think it is right now, but that's another subject. The point is that for all intent and purpose, again, and forgive me if I'm repeating myself and being redundant here, but the formula, the gameplay loop, the management of the economy and the marketplace and your character and your health and your weapons, basically all of it, right? From top to bottom, minus just the engine, the way the game feels, the character controller, the UI, the graphics, whatever. It's essentially the same product. It might be a little bit easier. It might be a little bit harder. It might be a little bit more arcadey. It might be a good middle ground. But right now, sort of the conundrum with extraction shooters is that they haven't really presented anything new. Yes, they're good games, but the first-person shooter space, the extraction battle royale shooter space is really struggling right now. You know, we're in kind of a dry spell. Not so much, you know, I don't want to take away all of the work. Hey, watch out. I don't want to take away all of the work that these people have done, the developers, the artists, the programmers, the tech people. They've done a great job producing these products, and I really like them. But we're in a bit of a dry spell right now in that space overall, in the sense that these games are just very similar to each other in what they provide. They're very similar to each other, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It just means that there's something sort of underneath the surface it's just lacking just a little bit of luster. It's just lacking. You know, Call of Duty Warzone has been going through the ringer for years, man. Years and years. The biggest franchise. Apex Legends, same thing. Just years and years and years of this iteration, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And you're just kind of looking around as like a first-person shooter fan, like a battle royale fan, and you're just thinking, man, like, what do I play? What is it? What is there? And there's plenty of stuff, I get that, but we're missing kind of like the bridge, if you will, between what makes a good extraction shooter, what makes a good battle royale, which we're doing well at that, but we're missing kind of the bridge of what's going to take that genre to the next level by integrating it into more of an open, if you will, or a live world. Right now, a lot of what we've got in my mind is a really good, solid gameplay loop system. The mechanics are there, the combat is there, the customization is there, but the world overall, it's just not alive enough. It's not interactive enough. It becomes very redundant and very repetitive very fast, especially across multiple games in the same genre. You can bounce from one to the other, and you're not really gonna experience anything radically different. Now, continuing on, another thing that ABI, Arena Breakout Infinite, and Delta Force kind of, experience sort of is they both released around roughly the same time. You know, they were both in like an alpha and then a beta state. And they both hit the market around roughly the same time, which, you know, there isn't anything inherently wrong with that. It's just that, you know, apart from Tarkov, there really wasn't much else that you could go to that would give you that type of experience. And then all of a sudden there were 3 games. And if you want to count Gray Zone Warfare, we'll say 4. But, you know, some would say, well, maybe them releasing at the same time was a good thing, you know, more variety in the market, more options. But some could say that it was maybe a net negative because now you just have 3 of the same experience that people can jump back and forth across really quickly. And then ultimately, you know, they're going to decide which one they prefer and like more, and the other one will just kind of fall off and sort of sit by the wayside. So maybe it was kind of a shame that they didn't allow, you know, the other to breathe for a little while before introducing something different. Obviously, that's not going to be like a primary killer of the game. I think both of these games have really bright futures. I think they could do a lot with the games. I think they present nice, they present different avenues to go down. It's really more of a big picture type of thing, right? That's kind of what we're getting at here. And with Escape from Tarkov, everybody's waiting on the 1.0 release or anticipating that this roadmap or whatever that Battlestate Games is doing is eventually going to lead to a completion of the game. All areas of the region are going to be unlocked and it will have a 1.0 slapped on it. I've never cared about that. I don't think that matters at all. If Escape from Tarkov, if Battlestate Games releases a patch today that's Escape from Tarkov 1.0, it changes nothing. It changes nothing. They're either going to continue to update it and do whatever they're doing to it exactly the same way they are now, or they're not. They're going to abandon the game, they're going to release it in 1.0, and they're going to move on to a different project. And I mean, that's it. So what if the game has a 1.0 attached to it or not? It's been out for fucking 10 years. It doesn't mean anything. They're going to keep doing the same thing they're doing to it right now. Now, I know I've mentioned Gray Zone Warfare, and Gray Zone Warfare, I've kind of neglected to talk about it a little bit in this video so far, but, I have mixed feelings about Gray Zone Warfare. I've made a couple videos about it, and the experience overall with Gray Zone Warfare for me has, up until recently, has just been really poor, man. And I don't doubt the development team's passion and drive behind creating the game, but I would say that Gray Zone Warfare, out of all of those games, was the least to present something new and interesting other than the map. I think the map and the environment is awesome, but as far as the mechanics and the systems in place and just how they work and how fluid they are and the character controller and the combat, man. I'm not going to sit here and shit on Gray Zone Warfare, but out of all of the games mentioned thus far, I think it is the least comparable. It just doesn't, in my mind, stack up. I've played the game quite a bit, and I'll give credit where credit is due. As always, the performance and optimization has come a long way. It definitely has. I was unable to run the game for a long time, and I don't have a cheap system. I mean, I wouldn't say it's necessarily, high end of the high end, but it's definitely above mid-tier. And it's not ever really worked super well until recently. It runs pretty good. But, Gray Zone Warfare, man, I think they've got, a cool idea going, a cool vision. They've got a cool map. I mean, Unreal Engine 5 makes the map look amazing when it does run properly. But man, yeah, I don't know about Gray Zone Warfare, man. All right, folks, so I've been rambling for a little bit now. I appreciate you bearing with me. Like I said, we're trying something new with the way that we record videos. For the next couple videos, I'd like to have, my mug in the frame, like I said, just see how people respond to it. I enjoy watching the videos where people are kind of there and sort of giving their feedback, maybe their reactions to certain content they're watching or they're seeing. I think it's a cool kind of real-time way to do things, a little less curated and a little bit more natural. So let me know, if you like it, how you think it could maybe be better, or if you prefer the videos where, we're not in the frame and it's more or less just a voiceover. But anyway, ultimately, to kind of start to sort of wrap up the video, the whole point of it, it being titled "The Biggest Problem with Extraction Shooters," or something to that effect, is that right now, overall, it doesn't really seem like we've iterated upon what's in place enough. So, Tarkov, realistically, it kind of has set the bar, and it may not be the best bar, but it is the best bar that's been set. I think that where we have to go from here, and a game like Arc Raiders is an interesting example of what this could be. Now, that may not be your flavor of gameplay, and that's fine. It may not be my flavor of gameplay either, but more so just the world. I think that we've got to sort of transition the battle royale extraction shooter genre into more of like an interactive and alive world. The going into a raid and trying to come out with loot and then sell that loot and just upgrade gear, I mean, it's tried and true, it works, it's familiar, people enjoy it. But after a while, kind of like the other games that we mentioned before, you know, Call of Duty, Apex, and just these other big titles that have been in the space for so long, there's just got to be something different that makes being in the match in real time, it's just got to provide something more. And I think that that's where, you know, IPs like Battlefield and Call of Duty could really create incredible and amazing products, man. I mean, we've got studios, conglomerates of studios that are worth billions of dollars, man. I mean, they could collectively do anything, and their name alone would just about carry them to the finish line. I mean, look at Call of Duty Warzone. It's the same story spun a different way every year, and no matter how much they lie to us or bullshit to us, people eat it up. They eat it up, man. So if they were to actually create something or, you know, iterate upon what they've done, make it work well, again, a different video, a different subject. Same thing with the DICE team and all of the people that work on Battlefield, these big names that have established themselves in the shooter space. I mean, they could create some really badass products that centered not only around large-scale warfare and combat, but had battle royale modes or extraction shooter modes that did expand and open up the world and have events involved. And give us something that was more than just an inventory management system, a soldier management system, and like tasks to complete, which we've done and had and gone through many times. That ultimately, I mean, shit, Tarkov is like, it's literally the same game every wipe, right? I mean, they introduce maybe a few new quests every time, but it's the same game, you know? I mean, damn, you've played the same game for the 17th time in a row, you're doing all the same quests and tasks. You know, I mean, it'd be cool to just have something a little bit more expansive than that, right? You know, a game like Arma Reforger right now is having a really cool, you know, sort of time in the spotlight. Same sort of thing. You know, they've got this, you know, sort of realistic, more milsim type thing going on with this big open map. You know, it's very active, interactive. There's a lot going on the map at one time. It's very squad based. You know, you blend that kind of stuff together. You know, A Beautiful Light. I don't know if you guys have heard of or seen anything about the game A Beautiful Light. That game I don't believe has a release date yet, but I have been, you know, sort of following it. But, you know, this is kind of like a psycho thriller horror battle royale extraction shooter that's coming out sometime in the future. Looks really cool, man. I mean, I know we've had one or two of those up to this point, you know, haven't really done well. I mean, they've been received okay, but I mean, the limits to where the genre could be taken and how it could be expanded upon and how interactive it could be, how sort of, again, alive, I'm using the word alive, it could be, are still so untouched, man. Right now, most of what we're playing is still very static. And the best comparison I know to make is, that's what I always loved about Battlefield 3 and 4, or just Battlefield in general versus Call of Duty. The Battlefield maps, when you were playing an online match in Battlefield, everything was going on, man. There were helicopters and jets and explosions, buildings blowing up, grenades, shooting, tanks. It was an alive game. The game was alive. There was always something going on. In Call of Duty, you could run around for 20 damn minutes and not hear a single sound. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So that's what I mean. Integrating what we know works and what people like and expanding, because it still hasn't been touched upon in so many ways, man. It really hasn't. We could expand and make these games more alive. It doesn't mean they have to be massive. they can be compact, but just add things and create things, create dynamics within that environment that create a more alive and interactive match. This video overall wasn't really, it wasn't meant to like shit on any of the games that were mentioned. It's just that as a shooter fan, man, and it's been kind of rough trying to find one I can really feel like I'm attached to as of recent, but as a shooter fan, as a longtime shooter player, a hardcore at heart shooter player from way back when, I really do want that game that comes out that I feel like, okay, I'm fixing to sink some time into this fucking game, man. And right now, I think we're creating some good shit. I think we got some good stuff. I just feel like there's so much that's not being tapped into. And that is ultimately the biggest problem with extraction shooters, battle royales. We've got the formula down for how we can set up the systems, for how we can set up sort of the foundation of the gameplay, the loops and the economies and the combat. We've got that down. I think we've got that in place. What I'd love to see now from developers and studios who are willing to take risks and create new things is let's transition all of those things into a world, into a match, into an environment where it's more alive. Now, I know that devs hate hearing vague ass shit like that instead of being specific, but again, Battlefield was a really great game because the matches were alive. In Call of Duty, you can run around for a really long time and never interact with anyone, never interact with anything on the map. Well, in Battlefield, again, there's all sorts of things going on. So it actually felt, like you were in a real interactive, warlike environment. It was always ongoing and ever developing. How that would translate into Battle Royale and BR, I don't know. The floodgates are wide open. But I think that the next evolution of that genre is to create those interactive worlds that are alive, that provide real-time events, that provide real-time ways for players to be involved in maybe not necessarily just killing each other or looting for items and then that's it. They get out of the raid and maybe they never had any contact with anybody. Maybe they never shot one bullet out of their gun. But create something more dynamic, create something more alive and interactive and a way for people to actually engage. I mean, the risk reward will be there, yes, and maybe not every event or every map or every world you enter is quite as risky or quite as involved, but something that makes the game feel like there's more of a flow in and out of that ecosystem rather than just this static and stagnant loot, sell, buy, loot, sell, buy. Anyway, guys, that is it. I'm going to shut my mouth up, continue to drink my coffee, and wake up this morning. Thank you very much for being here on the channel. Thank you for sticking through it if you did. I do have the tendency to run my mouth, rant and rave, and digress all over the place. Tangents are a guarantee here on the channel. That's something that this type of video wouldn't have edited out either, so it's interesting to see how that does. In the videos where I just do voiceovers with gameplay in the background, I can edit a lot of that out, I can trim a lot of that down or re-record it. But in this style of video where it's just you and I, we're just sitting here having a conversation, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave it in again, because that's what it's really about. This is who I am as a creator. This is the type of stuff that I like to talk about. When we live stream, that's how it is. We're just having conversations. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know if you did. Check out some of the other content. Let me know if you like it better. Let me know what you think about the Battle Royale extraction shooter genre. Where you think it needs to go. What you think could be done to, spice it up. Make it a little bit more interesting. We've got some great games, some great projects already out, more coming out. But there's just so much potential, man. There's so much potential, and I love the genre. I just would love to see it become a little bit more alive in its interactivity. But anyway, folks, throw a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Feel free to subscribe if you enjoyed it even more. Watch out. We do live stream a few days a week here on YouTube as well as on Twitch. There's a link down below the video as well as on the homepage of the video. Twitch.tv/Papa Scrim is the name, baby. Yeah, that's it, folks. Appreciate you being here. I'm gonna get this fat ass cat off my desk, continue on about my day, and we'll catch you guys online.